welcome everybody for tuning in tonight. Hope you guys learned a whole bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do is just remember this will be an hour to an hour and 20-minute Q&A session with our guest speakers. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type in the chat, and we'll go through all the questions that we can. If you guys have questions, make sure you type in the chat. And remember that all these views are our own opinions, and they are not represented by any other companies or any of the real estate organizations out there. So first, I'm going to introduce Mark Haas. I want you to kind of just talk about yourself, tell us how long you've been in the business, kind of what you've done over the past however many years.
I've been in the business for about 25 years and started STMT Properties, I think around 96, 98, something like that. That's my rental property. And then I was with Steve Priest for a long time, and then I went and started Real Estate 3000 in 04 and got into the REO about 98, 99. And real heavy in 2000, and just built up to about 100 banks I represent, and started buying houses in 96, I guess it was, and built a pretty good portfolio doing that, and then started getting lazy in the last couple of years.
All right, Dick, tell us about yourself, how long you've been in the business, and what kind of stuff you've done over the years.
Do I have to admit that? I've been in business 50 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
And I own a Century 21, and we've been pretty successful. We started buying property a long time ago in big lots. Like I bought 40 houses in one lot and 20 in another, and 15 in one, 18 in one. And accumulated quite a bit of rental property, and still have it. So we're clicking right along. Plus, we started managing a lot of property. My daughter Deanna is running that, and she rents all the stuff and running the business there. I'm actually sitting in Florida right now, watching everybody in their house. So nothing's open here. It's like a graveyard.
So tell us. Since a lot of people are not familiar with where you're at, tell us kind of where you're at right now and kind of what's going on down there in that market.
Market down here is real good. Although I've got some VRBOs and that down here that are like Airbnbs, and we rent them furnished. I got one on Sanibel and some other ones here in Bonita Springs. And all my people canceled all the way up to May. So now my monthly rentals here or my yearly rentals, they're full, and those people are good. And like the ones in Louisville, all the ones we got in Louisville, it seems like this month we've already collected. I just did a thing on it. It was like 48% of the rents are in on all them. So. And this is just a second. I don't expect a lot of them won't pay till Friday, I'm hoping. And I'm hoping we don't hit a period. I'm worried a little bit about next month. But we have had like 10 people call in. My daughter said she's talked to them and sent them to the city for rent. And, of course, everybody's waiting on their $1,200 check. I hope they all realize they got to pay it back. But anyway, that'll happen next year on their tax return if they got a refund. But everything right now is running good. I'm just hoping we keep it up.
Okay, Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I'm probably about 20% in collecting rents, and I've had 7 phone calls, and a couple of them I've directed it to a couple of websites and 211, and they are getting some help there. But I told them that I would work with them and waive the late fee and send in whatever they could send in, and told them to go ahead and sign up for unemployment. And I was very patient and very nice with them and appreciated their phone call. And I'm sure I'm going to have a few that's not even going to call me. But we can't even give them a 7-day notice until after July. So I'm going to have to work with them, and I'm going to try my best to work with them. I mean, it wasn't their fault that they've lost their jobs. So
kind of to follow up with you guys, what y'all are talking about with your clients and your tenants. So here's a couple things for everyone out there to kind of take note of. So you guys heard Mark talk about getting some of your clients and tenants help. Refer them to call 211. So if they call 211 and they give their zip code, they can get some relief that way. Also here locally in Kentucky, don't know about the other states, but here locally in Kentucky, if you have your clients or your tenants contact the local neighborhood places, they're allowing tenants to apply for rental assistance. Also, there's plenty of jobs that are hiring currently right now in the food industry with grocery stores and things like that, and also e-commerce. So with the neighborhood places, you have to fill out a landlord information pack and a form, and then a W-9, and it's actually pretty simple. So if you have any of your clients or tenants that are having a hard time right now, that's a couple good options for some of the people. So back to Dick. So Dick, tell us what, because you've been through a lot of ups and downs with real estate throughout the years. So how does this differ compared to back in 08 and in the 90s?
Oh, it's quite a bit different. There's, of course, the mass of people out of work. A lot of the people we have are not out of work, thank goodness, but we just don't have a lot of people in the restaurant business. That would be a killer, The people that are in that type of business, they're all out of business. I think all the restaurants they're doing drive-by pickup, but they only require 3 or 4 people. None of the bars are open, so all those people are out of work. It's just it's going to be devastating. I look for next month. This month I think will be okay, and the $1,200 checks will get out the first of next month. So we might be all right then. But when we get near June and July, I think it's going to be really hard on a lot of people.
So
a lot of people out of work.
What do you think the big difference is back that was in the 2008, 2009 crash compared to kind of what's going on now? Like, do you think it's obviously impacting countrywide, worldwide now? Back in 08, 09 was mostly real estate?
Well, I tell you, it is kind of similar to banks. I was in the middle of refinancing 20-some houses I got, and they pulled the plug on me last week. So, and they told me, said, we'll give you the loan, but I was down to getting ready to close. And so they've stopped all that. And I see that happening with everybody. And they told me the reason was all the people are calling in and saying they're not going to make their payments. And I think they said they had 600 people that already called them. So they're not tacking it on to the back of the loan. They're still going to owe the money.
So you said you had some houses that you were in the midst of refinancing, and they just cut you off?
Yeah, they said, they called me Friday. We were getting ready to close. The appraisal had all been done and everything was approved. And they just told me, they said, we're going to have to, actually it was 27 houses. They said, we're going to have to wait until maybe June or July.
Wow.
And we want to see what the interest rates are going to do.
Was it a local bank, Dick?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing different stuff. I talked to Republic, and Republic's probably doing it the best. And I've been telling the other banks what Republic's doing is they're actually deferring three months up to 6 months, and they're putting the payments at the end of the loan. First Bank of Carrollton, or First National Bank of Carrollton, Doug Miles, they want to do interest only, and they would defer that, but you'd have to catch up all the interest payments before you started paying to your principal. I told them, I said, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't like that. I got a text today from Park Community Federal, and they are going to defer just like Republic Bank. I got to send them an email. They got a one-page form like Republic Bank. I sign that, and they're deferring three months, and they're putting the payments toward the end of the term, end of the loan. I got to call Carrollton Federal back again, and South Central Bank is doing. They had a couple different scenarios, and I think I told them that Park Community Republic was going to put it at the end of the loan, and I think South Central is going to do that now. So I've got about 3 that's doing that, and I got about 3 that's not. And these are big loans. These are all big loans, so pretty big loans.
I'm kind of glad that you guys have touched on the mortgages now. So here's kind of what we're seeing. We were on a big webinar call today and yesterday. So here's kind of what's going down the pipeline, and it's coming to Kentucky as well, as you just heard Dick say, and it's happened in Florida. So currently right now, some notes for you guys to kind of write down and jot down. So mortgage companies right now are obviously very busy with refis, and they still have a lot of new purchases that are coming in. So what's going on is the new approval guidelines have tightened up, and there's higher minimum credit scores now. So now you used to be able to get approved for a house just 3 weeks ago down to a 580 credit score. Now the lowest they're going is 640. So that's going to hurt a lot of first-time homebuyer people. Also, too, kind of what Mark and Dick just touched on is that any lenders who sell paper to Wall Street, it's paused right now currently. Only those that can balance the loans for 90 days are doing business, but that is on a very conservative basis. So there's another company called Finance of America that a lot of bigger pocket investors that follow use, and they're doing the same thing. Kind of what Dick just told us is that there was a lot of loans that were in underwriting that was already approved. They were about probably 5 to 7 days out, and they basically cut the chain, pulled and stopped, halted everything. So kind of what's going on is these banks are kind of getting into a position where they're kind of getting scared. Even though they have a lot of cash, they're trying to figure out what's going to happen here in the next maybe 60 to 90 days. So it's kind of like a trickle effect down the pipeline of, kind of what's happening. To kind of touch base on what Mark said. So we have about 10 different banks that we have with all of our rental portfolios. So what a lot of these banks are doing that we've contacted is there's 2 different options. You have a forbearance, and then you have an interest only. Now, use caution. Make sure you talk to your CPA, talk to your lawyer. But from what we've been told is if you're wanting to do any forbearances, what that means is if you're just basically not paying any payments for 6 months, after that 6 months is up, the whole amount is due. So that might not be an option for you. The other option is kind of what Mark touched on, was the interest only. So with the interest only, we've contacted a lot of local banks here, and what they're willing to do is interest only payments for 6 months. And then after the 6 months is up, you just go back to your normal payment, and then the principal that you missed in that 6 months will just go to the end of the loan whenever the loan's due. So something to think about, depending on what situation you're in, talk to your financial advisor. But, with our end, it sounds like for us, it's going to be better to do it interest only, because with a forbearance, there's no way in the world that I want to stop that for 3 or 6 months and then have to pay that whole amount at the end of that. Is that kind of what you've been hearing, Mark, or kind of what's going down?
That's what First National Bank of Carrollton was talking about at first. Uh-oh. What happened?
Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what he was talking about. But the way I understood Republic, it wasn't really a forbearance. It was just going to be a deferment. So, Mike Butler was talking about it today. He says, make sure whatever you do with any of these banks to get it in writing.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Did they say they'd give it to you in writing?
Yeah. Yes. And they do a 1-page addendum. And Park Community Federal said they would do a 1-page addendum. But I would want it in writing somewhere that says that it was going to be forgived and it would all go to the end of the loan.
What does that do to your credit too?
So we were on.
That's another thing.
So the call we were on yesterday, there was 950 people around the country on that call, And there's a lot of top end mortgage guys, bankers that are so bigger bankers around the country. And they were basically saying, somebody just asked a question too. So with the forbearance, it does affect your credit score because they still have to report that because you're not paying anything. So if you go to, let's just say a year from now, if you go to try to refinance your house or try to buy a new house, then that's going to pop up on your credit and it might prevent you from doing anything. So just in my opinion, these are all my opinions and suggestions, is if you guys are in the real estate investing game and you have rentals, you might want to just think about trying to do the interest only if you're having some type of hardship or if you're looking to get by, depending on what your tenants or clients are going to do. Because from what I've been told, the forbearance option, it could be a stickler if you do that for 3 or 6 months, and then all of a sudden you have to pay that whole amount. Because what happens if you do a forbearance for 3 months, and then let's just say this rides in until May and June, and it's still kind of going on, then they're going to require you to pay all that up front after the 3 months. So, all right. So, Mark, question for you. So, with you being in REO business, real estate owned by banks and things like that, what do you see the outlook here in the next 3 to 6 months here locally in this state?
And well, what I've been told across the nation is get ready, but I think it's going to take longer than that. And I think that these banks don't want to foreclose on people. I really don't. And I hope they don't. I know that, our inventory in our market now has been, we were down into 1,400 actives in Louisville, which is the lowest I think I've ever seen in 25 years. It's up to 1,507 today, I think, but 1,100 pendings. So as far as the real estate market goes, it's really, and I just listed a brand new property that's been rehabbed, kind of like hitting a switch. Nobody's showing it. But my REOs, we're getting the listings, probably one a week, and we're listing them, and I'm getting 5-10 offers. So that's kind of stayed the same. I guess, 3 to 6 months, I think it'll take a lot longer before you see it in the pipeline. But I suspect that there is going to be a big uptick on REO.
All right, Dick. So what about you? So let's just say you're looking at avenues both of Kentucky and Florida. So from the next 3 to 6 months, what kind of outcome or outlook are you looking at?
Well, I'm going back to what Mark just said. I don't think the REO problem is going to be that big a deal, because what are they going to do with 500,000 houses in foreclosure? How are they going to handle that? They're going to have to do something. And I threw 500,000 out because I'm sure it'd be more than that. I saw unemployment just a while ago was 6 million people today. So say you get 500,000 people or 1 million people delinquent on their loans, they're not going to be able to foreclose on them. They won't have the manpower to handle that. They won't. I just don't see it happening. They're going to have to work something out with the people. That's
so what's you guys' thought? Either one of you guys jump in anytime. So what's your thought on the difference between the residential market and the commercial market of what is being impacted right now?
I think the commercial market's going to get hit a lot harder. I see them getting hit real hard. Commercial's a different game anyways, but strip centers, office condos were getting hit anyways. Now, commercial's been great the last couple of years, been fantastic. But office condos, malls have been getting hit. Strip centers have been getting hit. And so I think this is really going to be really tough on commercial.
You take the small businesses in commercial.
Yeah.
There are small businesses, I'd say, I would bet, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would bet there's probably 60 to 70% of the rentals in the commercial market are small businesses.
Yeah.
Like mine and yours, and, single family restaurants, and they're not IPAs, or they're not Publix, or they're not Kroger's, or Walgreens or something like that. But I'm talking about the little strip centers with 10 places in it that are all individual little businesses, and they're all over.
Yeah, I think I heard something today, 20 to 40% of small businesses might not come back after this. And you
Yeah.
got little restaurants and stuff like that in these strip centers. It's going to be tough on them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I just hope it doesn't bleed over and cause a major recession. That's what I worry about.
So let me
But,
ask you guys a question. So Dick, you first. So what are you doing personally to prepare for the COVID-19 and what's currently going on and could potentially go on in the next 6 months?
well, as far as we're trying to tell people, we're working with them. We're having them go to the Deanna, sending them to the loan you were talking about, and then I'm looking at doing that loan, the PPP loan, which you don't have to repay if you can use it for paying payroll and taxes and insurance on your employees. So we're looking at that. We're going to file for that for the SBA tomorrow. And hopefully that'll give us a pocket of $80,000 to $100,000 at 0.5%, you know. And then if it gets forgiven, we may not have to pay it back.
Right.
So that's a big thing. And you don't stop and think about it, but I got thinking about my maintenance people on payroll and people in the office on payroll. And you can do 2.5 times 2 months. And then and their payroll includes their insurance and vacation time and all that. So that can mount up. You start thinking about, you're talking about 8.5 weeks or 10 weeks. It's quite a bit of money.
So Mark, what are you specifically yourself doing to ride this out?
I bought a gun. I'm doing a lot of the same thought. We're looking at the PP, the loans. Terry found out that you can only get one, so we applied first right off the bat. We applied for STMT and Hoscorp, and we got approved for both of them on site. But then we read somewhere that you could only get one company, so we backed up a little bit. But I hear now, I talked to L&N, Cub, and South Central is going to get the SBA loans, so I could go through them. I don't think they're going to be ready by tomorrow. The site, the SBA site online might be ready tomorrow, but you're not going to get a check. It's going to be a while before you get a check. I'm looking strong at the deferment, not paying my, see if the banks will allow me not to pay the mortgage payments, because I think this month is going to be okay, but I still bet I'm going to probably be anywhere 30 to 40% of people aren't going to pay this month, and then next month's going to be way worse, and I think June will be really bad. So I think, I'm, like I told the banks today, I've got a condo in Florida that did $78,000 in rents last year, and it was doing great this year, and all of a sudden we don't have any rentals on it. So I'm going to take a huge hit on that one condo there, and I've been telling the banks that. So I'm just preparing for the worst, I guess. Try to stop my mortgage payments.
Yes, it's very similar here. We take a huge hit on ours, and I've got books from May on, but I'm looking. I don't. Those people probably won't even show up.
Yeah, what I was told,
I had all of my April and May canceled.
Yeah, the office told me that I get a lot of Canadian and European tenants, and the Canadians can't even go there. Now Florida's blocked their thing, so I mean that they had to cancel. They didn't want to cancel; they had to cancel. So, I'm taking a huge hit on that.
So, question for Mark first. So, question is, do you think real estate prices are going to go down?
I hate to say this, but probably so.
Now, do you think it's going to be a dramatic price drop, or do you think it's going to be just a gradually slow decrease?
It depends on how long this goes on, Frank. If it goes on for a long time, it could get ugly. You know, our values in Louisville probably jumped in the last 2 years over 8%. So I was loving the equity and the values of my portfolio was unbelievable. And you know yourself what you were selling some stuff for. I sold 6, 7, 8 properties last year. I couldn't believe what I got for them. And then after I sold them and closed them, I was like, man, I think I sold it too cheap. But I think it won't be bad if we can come out of here in the next 2 months, month, 2, 3 at the most. But if we get going 6 months into this thing, it could get real ugly. Yeah, the prices will drop a lot.
All right, Dick. So same question for you, but I want 2 answers. What do you think the prices are going to be like here in Kentucky? And what do you think the prices are going to be like in Florida?
Well, I look at number one in Kentucky. I'm like him. I sold a couple of houses last year, and I was shocked at the amount I got for them. I was greatly surprised at what the appraisals were on all those houses that I just tried to refi. And they're high. I mean, they're way up there. But I think they're going to drop. Yes, I think we're going to see probably, I don't know, I would say at least 10%, maybe more. And down here in Florida, we had that in 08 to 12 or 13. Everything went way down. A $250,000 house, we were selling for $50,000 and $60,000 down here. My son bought 11 properties down here in that price range. And they're right now worth over $250,000 each. So that's how much they blew up. And I hope it doesn't go back to that, but I could see it dropping. But I think the people are still going to come back to Florida. I don't know what it is about Florida. It's crazy. It's like the rentals down here. We get the same house in Louisville is $1,200, $1,300 a month. Down here, you get $2,500 a week. That's the difference. I mean, it's crazy.
All right, so I got a question from Pedro. So he's asking, what do you guys think? We're talking about short-term impacts currently right now. So what do you guys think are going to be the long-term impacts? Like, say, for instance, companies that are realizing that the employees can work more from home and the office rental market is going to go off the cliff. So what do you guys think of the long-term effects for commercial and long-term effects towards residential?
Well, again, I think the commercial is going to take a hit because you are going to have a lot of people work from home, and that's been kind of the trend in the last 5 to 10 years. That's why office complexes, office buildings are not doing well at all, and a lot of people are sitting at home and ordering their stuff on Amazon, and that's why malls aren't doing very well. I don't know what the long-term effect on rentals. I don't know if rentals will fall off the cliff. I think there's always going to be a huge market for rentals. I mean, we're almost 40% of America is renting. So I don't see that changing a whole lot, hopefully.
I don't either. I don't see it changing that much. The thing that does bother me is all the properties out there that the builders are right now are stuck with.
Yeah, that's
going
like in the 80s, 1980s, 1980s was like that.
This is going to be, if I was a builder right now, I'd be scared to death. That's just my feeling anyway. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, Dick, because today on social media, this builder that I follow, he's got 3 spec houses in J-Town, and he's already asking for people to do rent-to-owns on those.
Wow.
If he can find them. That's the problem. A lot of people are, they pull back their horns. They're just not. That's why all these renters cancel. And what my renters canceled down here they were coming from all over, Michigan, Ohio. I had one from France, and just anyway, they canceled before any of this stuff. The governor shut the city down or the state down. They canceled because they didn't want to leave. They're worried about their jobs. They're going to be able to pay the payment. They didn't want to spend the $3,000 or $4,000 to come here, you know. So I just see it's going to be a problem. Commercially is going to really be bad.
Yeah.
I'm like Mark. I think.
All right. So, question for Mark. So the question says, what would you guys tell new investors getting into the market?
Well, I would be very nervous, but there'll probably be some deals coming down the pike, and it's a really slow out there. So it's been horrible for an investor trying to find properties. I think in the last year, it's been tough to find a deal. I know Frank's pretty successful with it, but I've been pretty conservative myself. But if somebody calls me with a deal, I buy it. But I don't know. I don't know. I think 6 months, you might find a deal, but I'd be slow and cautious right now because you might want to be sitting on some cash.
So Dick, question for the new people getting into the market. Give them what kind of advice?
Well, I've always said cash is king, and if you've got cash, you're in a great situation. If you don't, I don't know. Of course, Chris McCarty and Rue McFarland are still out there. I don't know if they're still making loans or not, but I would say it's going to get tough. And I don't know, as far as turning, it's so blindsided right now. You don't really know what's going to happen.
Right.
I would really watch what I buy. I'm sure there's going to be deals come down the pike because there are going to be people as this thing goes on, they're going to get 3 and 4 months behind. And then you've got the people that think, oh, well, I just live here for nothing, So there's going to be a lot of REOs, I'm sure. But when that's going to happen and how far the government's going to step in here and do this, they're going to run out. They can only print so much money. They only make so much of that paper. So that's the big problem is they keep printing money, and
yeah, the value of the dollar goes down then. So
what dollar?
So what do you guys? Let's get your opinions on what about the rental market, residential wise? Do you think it's going to go up? Do you think it's going to go down? Do you think prices are going to go up? Prices are going to go down?
I've seen a turn for rentals. To me, they've been skyrocketing, and I talked to a couple other landlords, Chris McCarty being one, Joe Burnett, Joe Jr. I think rentals, the prices have been coming down anyways. It's been harder to rent. I had one time this year, I had 10 vacancies. I've never had 10 vacancies. Now I had 4 rehabs or 5 rehabs, but still, I had a ton of vacancies. And right now, luckily, I've got 1 or 2, but I've kind of found a tenant. One tenant sold their house, and they couldn't find another house, so they were going to pay me 6 months up front to rent this house and possibly buy it. And the tenant just moved out, so that kind of worked out good. But I think rents are going to come down. And nobody's out there looking at houses to rent. Everybody's sitting at home.
Well, I don't know about that. We rented 2 this week.
Really?
And we're still showing them. That's what gets me. And we don't have that many vacancies at all. I've seen the day we had 15, 18 vacancies. But we had a lot of property. I mean, we're not, we had a lot of houses. And we turned a lot of them over.
What price points are you mainly at, Dick, the house?
I'd say our lowest one's probably around $850, and they run up to $1,800.
What about you, Mark?
Probably about the same. About 850 to maybe not 1,800. I got a few there, but the one that just came available and my guy rented it too cheap. I was going to try to rent it for $1,300 is Woodridge Lakeway out there off Darien Road. It's a nice house, finished basement, 2-car garage, store and a half. And he rented it for $1,200, which was probably way too cheap. I probably could have got, but to me, it just seems like it's kind of slowed down. I could be wrong, but it just seems like I'm not getting the calls on rentals like I was.
So let's talk about the retail market. So instead of the rentals. So for instance, Mark was touching base on it a little bit ago about investors trying to find good deals out there. So we actually, the reason why us in particular have made it through all these pitfalls in real estate is because my opinion is we were diversified. So we had rentals that we could fall back on. We did some fix and flips, some retails, and then also we did some wholesales. So to touch base on that, we just listed a house yesterday or the day before as a wholesale deal in Shively, and we ended up having 4 or 5 showings and already have multiple offers on it as an as-is house that looks like a bank-owned home. So the investors that are out there, just in my opinion, I think the ones that are currently out there buying, and I want Mark and Dick to touch base on this. I think the people that are out there buying right now are guys and gals that have not been through let's just say a crash or a real estate meltdown. I think that some of the ones that's been in the business for a long time, kind of what I'm seeing is they're kind of holding onto their cash just to see what happens. What do you guys think about that?
I would agree with that. I mean, the older you get, the more conservative you get too.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. I haven't been on a buying spree. We're just really on a holding spree. We've been holding now for probably, I sold 2 last year and then I bought 2 last year, but I haven't, used to be, I'd buy, 15, 20, 30 houses a year and flip half of them and keep half of them. But I haven't been doing that. I've been holding on. The main thing, income tax like kill me.
Yeah.
So taxes were just brutal. And I just said, no, I'm not going to give my money away, and I want to keep it, and I want to do my rentals. So that's about what we're doing. We're living off our rentals. So,
okay, so we got some more questions here. So Madeline asked, are bankers still giving good mortgage loans here with good credit scores? So I'll take it first, then you guys can jump in if you have any input. So what I've seen over the past couple weeks is there are banks that are still out there giving mortgage loans, but the criteria is a lot more tighter now. So a lot of guys were doing 5 and 10% down. You're probably going to look at more 20 to 25% down now on new purchases. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that, and the rate's going to be up in the 4s. I don't think you're going to find down in the 3s right now. You're going to probably be 4, 4.5, 4.25, somewhere in there. And I think it's going to be tough. And you better have, like you said, it's 640. They may even be 680. It's going to be tough.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, and it's probably going to get tougher. I mean, I was getting ready. I was in the middle of the beginning of a refinance and sent him all my stuff, and he sent me a thing back. I guess it was last week, and he was going to do me a loan, probably on about 10 houses, 3 3/4 fixed for 5 years on a 20-year AM, and I was kind of excited about it. Really, I was going to see if I couldn't get 7-year, but anyway, I myself just kind of put that on a back burner right now. I still might move forward with it. I'm not sure, but I'd like to have that 3 3/4 rate.
Yeah, so just to kind of let you guys know what I did here recently, I didn't really foresee this happening, but I just kind of got lucky. So I ended up buying 4 houses that I was going to buy, rehab, and flip them. But instead, what I decided to do was just buy the properties, rehab them, and rent them out, like on the BRRRR method that people are doing. And we went through a local credit union here, and we did 70% loan to value, cash out. We only owned the properties for 2 to 3 months. and all I was comfortable with was 70% loan to value. I didn't want to go no more than that. But we ended up refining those 4 houses, and we ended up getting a check for $114,000. So that kind of helped us out. Obviously, what's going on now, but if you didn't see this coming, or people were in a different boat, different situation, because a lot of us have already been through a couple of these issues. But the crazy thing about this one, the COVID-19 one, is it's affecting everyone in the country. It's not just real estate investors.
Yeah.
Everybody in general. So it's your clients, your tenants, your family, your friends, everybody. So question here for Mark. So Mark, do you think that, let's just say the next outlook, the next year or so, since you do REOs, do you think the bank REO business is going to pick up at all?
Yeah, that's what I'm being told. I always, for over the years, has always look at California and Washington, and whatever happens out there 6 months and 9 months before us comes this way. California hadn't had an REO since 2011, but the people out there, the asset management companies, California and Denver, most of that's where they're at. I don't know why, but that's where they're at. They're saying that it's going to be a wave. And it could be in the next year or two.
So Dick, question for you. So since you've been in the business so long, do you think, you kind of already touched base on this a little bit, so do you think that there are going to be better deals, say in the next 2 to 3 months, or do you think there's going to be better deals on a future outlook of things in real estate?
Oh, I think there'll be good deals come down the pipe. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of good deals because there are going to be people out of work. I think we're going to go back and see a lot of REOs. And if you can, that's why I said, if you got cash, you're going to make some good money if you can sell them. And you got to remember that sales market's going to get tight because they're raising these credit lines to 640, 680. If you don't have a credit score over that, then you're not going to get a loan. And most of the people we rent to are between 600 and 625. I'd say 90% of the people we rent to are that. The 2 we rented this week had extremely high. They were over 640, both of them, I believe. So, which is unusual, but they didn't have the money or the funds to buy. So I think it's going to get tough for buyers out there, and credit-wise or credit score-wise. It's just you're not going to be able to get a loan.
So, Mark, question for you. In your daily office of the girls running the office and stuff, have the volume of phone calls slowed down, or have they increased at all?
They've slowed down. And I've got my girls working from home. I told them it's up to them. They can work at the office. I've shut the office. We got it closed on the front door, and I've got a slide in the door, and we've got things for tenants to drop rents off there. But I told the girls it's up to them to either work from home, or they could come to the office. I think they like coming in the office to get away from the kids and their husbands myself. But the phone calls are definitely slowed up.
All right. So next question. So Dick, so with your tenants and your clients, are you waiting to see if people are going to be able to pay? Are you and your office sending out letters to give them some type of direction? What kind of process are you doing currently right now?
Well, if they call and ask, or if they, like we had 4 calls today, and they said, we're out of work. We can pay half this rent now, and in 15 days, the other half, or when our $1,200 comes in, or we're not going to be able to pay, period. Whatever they tell us, we send them to that place, the like 8 places in Jefferson County you can go and file for rent and assistance. And I think they give them up to $1,000. So that's where we're going right now, sending people there. And the first day this happened, which was last Thursday or something like that, we sent 2 people over there, and they're in the pipeline to get their money. So, and they only had, what did they have? They had, I can't remember how many $1 million they had. I think it was $7.5 million for Jefferson County. So you had to get in there. That'll go pretty quick, probably.
Mark, Mark, what about you?
What was it again?
So the question is, are you sitting back and waiting until your tenants don't pay, or are you being proactive?
I have sat back and I've talked to Greg, Mike Butler about it. Mike Butler said he's got a letter going out and he's talking to all his tenants beforehand. And Dennis Earhart, he sent something out and talked to his tenants about cutting the rents in half for 2 months. Not too many landlords, I think, are doing that, but he's in the position he could do it, he said, so he did it. I've kind of been just sit back a little bit and wait, but I've had 7 tenants call me, and I thought about waiting and maybe until next week and do an updated rent roll and see who hadn't paid and maybe start making some phone calls and just talk to them and give them the direction like I give the other 7 phone calls to. I probably should have been a little bit more forward with it, but I haven't been.
So kind of to touch base on that, so kind of what we were doing in our office is kind of what we talked about with some other investors around the country. So we're kind of waiting to see if which tenants can pay and which tenants can't pay. But we've had about probably 5 to 6 already reach out to us. And this is very important if you guys want to write this down, because you're going to need it for your SBA loan stuff. So what you need to do is if your tenants are affected by COVID-19, you need to have them send you an email or send a text to your office, and it needs to state this. It needs to say, I am unable to pay all my rent at this time due to the COVID-19 epidemic that is currently going on. Will your company be able to accept either half the rent or a portion of the rent or something? And then what you need to do is you need to copy that and put that in your file for whenever you submit the SBA stuff. For the Small Business Administration, you have to have this type of proof in there, so that way when they come back to double check you to make sure that you are impacted somehow by the COVID-19 also.
Let me ask you something, Frank. I've got Haas Corp, which is DBA Real Estate 3000. I was going to do the SBA loan because they've got 5 employees. I've got 5 employees with Real Estate 3000. Instead of doing an SBA loan for STMT Properties, the rental company. So you think it'd be better to do the one with Real Estate 3000 or the one to do with STMT Properties? I mean,
so here's my personal opinion. Okay, not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA or attorney, but from the calls I've been on all this week is if you have 2 entities or 3 entities and they all have different EIN numbers, then you apply for each one of them no matter what.
Okay. And I was told that this morning, but it says in the beginning of their website, you can only do one loan with them. So I don't know.
Well, the way it works is as long as you have a different entity and a different EIN number, it's a totally separate loan for each one of them.
Okay.
So like with you, with your STMT, that's your rental one. So you'd be impacted by the rental with your tenants not paying. And then on your Haas Corp one, for your real estate agent stuff, you would be impacted because you have employees too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
So, Dick, are you checking into? Are you fooling with any of the SBA stuff at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're going to try and file tomorrow if they'll take it. We're gathering all our data right now as far as payroll and so forth. Now I don't know about people not paying your rents. They're not going to. You have to. The way I listened to a real good thing on not on Facebook, on what was it? I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw a video, and it was a good video on it, and it talked about what you could file for and couldn't file for. And the way I understand with this, you have to only 75% of that loan has to come from your payroll. Now, I've got on my iPad, and I can send it to you guys. You can listen to it. And it's two CPAs talking, and they go over the whole thing on how to fill it out and what you can and can't do. It's like a 35-minute video.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Mark, if you set in on this or not, but one of the calls I was on this week was Mark Lechner had forwarded the CRE, the tax accountant ones they did.
Yeah.
And I set in on that. It was really lengthy. It was about an hour and a half long. Took a lot of notes. But like I said, if you guys are looking at doing the SBA stuff, your two options is the 7A paycheck program. That has to go through the bank. And then your other one is the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So from what I was told, for real estate investors, the best one to go through is the EIDL. For the other one that has employees and stuff is the paycheck program. Like I said, check with your financial advisor, your accountant, your attorney on that. But here's the thing is, the most important thing is they said that this will be open until the end of the year, but it's first come, first serve. So don't sit back and think about if you're going to do it. If you're going to do it, you got to do it here in the next, say, 7 to 10 days. So that way you're in the waiting list, from what I've been told.
That's right. And so that's what I've been told too. On what you just said, as an example, I've got my rental account and all my rentals in one LLC. And then I've got Century 21 in another. So what you're saying, I could file the Century 21 where all the people are getting paid on the payroll out of Century 21 on the PPP program. And then I would go to the other one, to the disaster program.
Yeah, it just depends on how your entities are classified. But what you need to do is talk to your financial advisor. But the cool thing about it is that like on the EIDL, you can actually you can get your mortgage interest on there, your utilities, and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, you still have to show that there's some way that you've been impacted by the epidemic also. So that's why I suggest you guys out there that have any type of rental properties, if you have one or if you have 300, you need to make sure you get stuff in writing for people saying that they can't pay the rent or they can only pay a portion of the rent. And then just keep that in your files. All right, so let's see. We got a couple more questions, and we're going to try to wrap it up. So let's just say, Mark, what's going on right now is probably something that we've never seen in this lifetime. So how would you prepare for something like this in the future if you had it to do all over again?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I would agree with that. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. Probably be sitting on more cash, maybe. I don't know. Not sure how to answer it. Probably be sitting on more cash. That's a tough question.
All right, Dick, what about you? So you haven't seen anything like this in this lifetime. So if you had to do it all over again and it was going to happen in the future again, what would you do differently?
I'd be sitting on more cash. You always say that. That's easy to say.
Yeah.
but when the deals, I just paid off a bunch of loans. And now I wish I hadn't have done that. But, that's what happened. So.
Hey, Fred out there, you're sharing your screen for some reason.
Yeah.
Hit the share screen, get off of that.
I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was kind of interesting. I saw a video of Bill Gates last night.
I don't want to interrupt, but Frank, you should be able to mute anybody that is on.
Yeah, I can mute people, but for some reason, I don't know how to do. Somebody just shared their screen, and I can't get that off there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do it either. But anyway, there was a video of Bill Gates in 2015 predicting this, said that millions of people could die and and ruin the economy, and it wouldn't be from a war. It would be some type of a pandemic, just like we're having right now. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I found it very interesting. That was in 2015, and he said we would not be prepared for it. And you hit the head on the nail. Bill Gates.
So one thing that I have seen that's been circulating, kind of to answer that question too, is, let me see if I can find something here real fast. It's too far back on my camera roll, it looks like. Oh, here's a saying right here. So listen to this. It says, don't wait for things to get better. Life will always be complicated. Learn to be happy right now. Otherwise, you'll run out of time. So the crazy thing about this is think about this, is basically the only thing the government is asking you to do is to be safe, stay at home, take 14 to 21 days off to be quarantined so that we can get through this. It's not that hard. Have you ever heard the government just tell you to stay home and not do anything else?
No.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap up with a couple other questions here real fast. So Mark, so your words of wisdom. So there's about almost over 100 people on this call today. So what kind of words of wisdom would you give people out there of what to do or what to expect?
Well, first off, be safe with your family. That's a biggie. That's the most important, and your personal, your health. Just go slow and steady. Don't get too crazy. Money's not everything, guys. It's nice to have, but it's not everything. Our health is our most important thing.
Dick?
I agree. I've been up and down that health problem. It ain't fun. But he's right. You know, money's not everything, and it's going to get tough on a lot of people out there. And I'm hoping that the people that are listening and are members of CREA, they take some of this to heart and don't go out and start buying houses and get stuck with them, because it can come back and kick you in the butt. I can tell you that.
So if you were actively buying right now, Dick, what would you do if you were actively buying?
It'd have to be an awful good buy. First thing I do, I think, is to buy. My old saying, I used to tell everybody this, you never steal anything slowly. So if you got money, you can steal it quickly. You know, it's that simple. And get yourself lined up where you got money and a loan, and you can get money. It used to be real easy. Last week it was real easy, but the playing field has changed. And don't bank on what they told you last week, because last week may not be here. You know.
So Mark, if you were actively buying right now, what would you do?
Well, I probably wouldn't be looking at big houses, you know, $150,000, $200,000 houses myself. But if somebody called me today or tomorrow with a $50,000 or $100,000 house, and it was a deal,
Yeah.
I probably still would buy it. I'd probably get hollered at by my wife, but but I would probably buy it. So if it's a real good deal, like Dick said, if it's a real good deal, I'm probably gonna buy it.
Same here. So kind of what I've been telling people is, if you guys haven't heard a couple of the calls we've been on, I was on a couple calls with JP Purtle and some other guys throughout the week. And, you know, me personally, in the situation I'm in, you know, I'm pretty diversified, but what I'm looking to do is just kind of wait and see. It's like the waiting game, because you don't know how long this is going to last. You know, if it lasts next week, great. But if it lasts for the next 2 to 3 months, what kind of position are you going to be in 2 or 3 months? If all your tenants quit paying, or if you're flipping houses and they don't stop, they stop selling. So, like what these guys said, cash is king. My opinion would be is if you can hold on to some cash, make sure you have an emergency fund with cash, just in case it gets worse. Hopefully it doesn't. But so closing messages, Mark, for everybody that's on this call.
I like this Zoom thing. It's pretty cool. I've been on several of them. I try to stay informed, and I think the younger generation, like my daughter, for instance, they don't listen to the news. They don't have cable. They've got Netflix, and I think people need to stay informed and know what's going on around them, and be safe out there.
Dick, what's your closing?
I'm just telling everybody to stay in, don't go out. I called office. I didn't call. I text Office Depot today, or emailed them, and ordered office supplies. You don't need to go out. We did Food Hub and everywhere else. We're still eating at the good restaurants. And you can do all your shopping online. Whole Foods, any of the groceries, and stay away from people. I can't stress that enough. We're doing a lot of exercise. We're walking. We went about 3 miles today. Patty and I go out and we walk, and we don't see many people out, and we don't get near them, but we walk down to the beach and turn around and come back. So, and it's just keep getting your exercise on the iPad all day long.
So I'm gonna
everybody stay safe.
I'm gonna leave off here real fast with what had a conversation with someone today. So at Lowe's, everybody knows Lowe's, Home Depot, all these places are essential businesses to keep the economy going. My pro service desk girl, Elizabeth, at Lowe's, here's what she said to me today. So I went in there to make a payment on my LAR account, because currently what I'm doing right now is trying to abide by all the rules. It's pretty easy. You can do a lot of your work from online, from the computer. I go to Lowe's and HomeDepot.com. I can order all my items with item numbers online, have them ready for pickup for my guys, my full-time guys that can go out and do the work and pick them up. But what she said today is that it's crazy that they're in the position of where they're having to be in the front line of everything. And you have all these people that are at stay-at-home people now that have been instructed to stay at home. But what they're thinking to do is, hey, it's time to get my yard done. It's time to do this. It's time to do that. So you're having 100 to 200 people coming in Lowe's and Home Depot buying mulch and buying this non-essential stuff. In closing, what she's saying is if you guys can stay home, order your stuff online, whatever you need, so that way this will pass quicker. Then we'll all get through it much easier, and then having to set and keep the dates keep pushed back. Because as of right now, if you guys have not heard, I have some friends on the inside of the police force here locally, and they said school is officially canceled all year. So, your kids are not going to be going back to school. So don't worry about that. So I really appreciate Mark and Dick coming on, sharing their views and their time. Hope everybody had a great night, and hope to see you guys soon, and stay safe.
Thank you all.
Thanks.